the energy space. The African continent is pushing really hard for a just energy transition that takes into account the peculiarities of energy poverty and other challenges that the continent faces. Recent developments around the world, therefore, seem to support Africa's position that oil and gas remain a key source of global energy, at least for the foreseeable future. And there's more to have updates on as we bring on NG Ayuk, the executive chairman of the African Energy Chamber, the leading energy advocacy group headquartered in Johannesburg, South Africa. A good evening to you, NG, and welcome. Now, your world of energy never sleeps, so sometimes it keeps me on my toes trying to catch up on all that is going on. So, let's get started on this very gentle note. Why is Africa at the center of the global discourse on energy at this time?
I think Africa is at the center of global discourse because of one most important thing: energy poverty. I think at a time when many are saying we need to, because of climate change, we need to abandon oil and gas resources, Africans are today saying, no, it's our time to develop. We still have 600 million people without access to electricity, 900 million without access to clean cooking. We cannot abandon them at this time when we are still trying to industrialize. But the world has come to a point where you need to respect African voices. You need to take into consideration African industrialization. There is so much natural gas in Africa that we can use to industrialize. There is so much oil to be found. That's why we say drill, baby, drill, to be able to really see that we can monetize these resources and develop our people. This is not the time when Africa has to back down from driving up oil production, but also the global voices that are saying we need to shift to cleaner forms of energy. They have to also live up to their true promises. It's not okay to promise billions of dollars for clean cooking or energy access, yet that money never comes. That's why it's important for us to continue driving up Africa's position, driving up our right to produce natural gas and oil, driving up on all of the above drill, baby, drill energy policy. That's what we think that needs to be done, at the same time facing in renewables when necessary.
You've been advocating the drill, baby, drill, and this seems to have gotten some angst out there in the world when you say the world should continue drilling at the African Energy Chamber. Your organization has held a number of energy roadshows in London, in Paris, in Dubai, and elsewhere. And what are you looking to achieve through those events?
The first thing is what you have to look at, Boyson, is that we have to be very, very emphatic in attracting investment into the continent. We need foreign investors, but also we need to create an enabling environment, because the above ground risk issues are also stalling investment. So our roadshows have been all about driving investment, bringing in investors into the continent, showing opportunities. There are too many projects in Africa without investment, and there's too much money out there without projects. We embarked there. We got to go on a robust outreach. I was in London, really beautiful city. I love the UK. Long live the king. But we had so much to do around Paris and also around Dubai, and we'll be looking at going into China. We will be looking at going even in Nigeria. These events that we carry out around these roadshows is all about attraction. We got to sell Africa. We got to market Africa, and we got to talk up. We tired of people talking down on Africa and as if we the back ages or the black continent. We should be proud of our continent and showcase those opportunities. And I thank God that we have an opportunity to show that and do it in the best form.
Okay, so, well, what makes the hosting of the African Energy Week on the African soil important and an imperative, by the way?
It is so important to have these African discussions, big deals about African energy done in Africa. We opposed in the past when a London-based group wanted to move it to Dubai. We said that was wrong. And I put it this way: it's like hosting the Africa Nation Football Cup in Qatar or Dubai. It ceases its relevance. We just saw the European Cup. Imagine the European Cup is being played in Saudi Arabia. Nobody would like that. Why is it always that anything African, it has to be that disrespected, and people would want to say you take it out of Africa? I think we need to be able to bring some respect back in Africa, put some respect on our name, and that is just what we think is important. And this continent that has abundant resources, people need to have those discussions here around the people that have the resources, and also see the problems. And it's also important also to look beyond oil discussions or oil investment, the tourism dollars that come into African cities when you host these big events and conferences and these discussions. It also drives up the local industry, creates multiplier jobs, and boosts the economies. That is so important. And we are all about those multipliers because they can really mean something for everyday people. That's why I strongly advocate these discussions to be had here in Africa and not in Dubai.
Your advocacy organization issued a statement at the weekend on the African Oil Week and Sankofa events acquisition. What's at the heart of that deal? What are your views on it, the AEC?
Well, Sankofa is a London-based startup that was created on July 6th and then went on to do an acquisition of Africa Oil Week. We don't really know much, but I think that it is insignificant to what we do at the Chamber and the Africa Energy Week. It is non-consequential. But I put it this way, it's like saying Africa Oil Week or that specific conference just left Mayfair to Tim Smith or Peckham.
Interesting. This conversation, very important. Over the last few weeks, we've seen some international energy companies speaking to the fact that oil and gas looks like they're not going anywhere anytime soon. The OPEC itself, at the very top of its echelon, has also spoken on the fact that, yes, they still need to have oil and gas in the global energy mix, at least for the foreseeable future. So do you think these positions now seem to validate the position of the African Energy Chamber that oil and gas we still need it on the African continent, other countries need it around the world? We've seen a few other countries opening up oil block investments and all of that coming through at a time when Africa said, look, we've set up our own Africa Energy Bank to be headquartered in Nigeria, which is one great news. What's your view on that?
I think it's validation and vindication, because when we were talking against this global elitist trend that said just stop oil, most people thought we were crazy, Borson. And right now, being able to have a pragmatic, common sense approach that we took in saying this is not the time to stop oil. This is not the time to stop natural gas. And especially for Africa, we have a sovereign right to produce. I think the creation of the African Energy Bank and with Nigeria hosting it, it goes hand in hand with that. And we need to give credit to Dr. Omar Farouk from Apple and Professor Rama from Afrexim Bank for really driving this. But I also think that the global discussion around oil and gas was wrong. The reports of the death of oil was grossly exaggerated, as Mark Twain would say. But I also believe that we also have to look at the justice in this discussion. The justice there, nobody is telling Norway producing 4 million barrels a day and with the 1.3, with the 1 trillion sovereign wealth fund to stop. Nobody is telling the US to stop producing 13 million barrels of oil a day. Nobody is telling the United Kingdom to not produce in the North Sea. But they're quick to rush to Uganda and say, don't build a pipeline because that's going to be the end of the world. They're quick to run to Nigeria and say, stop oil. They're quick to run to Namibia. There's something fundamentally patronizing in that, but that we shouldn't stop there. We as Africans have to do our job. We need to look at how we encourage markets, limited government, taxes, deal with our above ground risk issues, speed up permitting. In Nigeria right now, you have a lot of Nigerian indigenous companies that have acquired assets that the IOCs are divesting, they need to move fast. The administration needs to move fast and do these approvals and let these guys get to work. We need to move at our own speed and produce every drop of hydrocarbons we can find and develop our people.
So there's a whole lot going on right now in the global energy. Some 3 months to the annual edition of the AEW 2024 in Cape Town. Give me a brief rundown of the preparations. I just saw in the news that the OPEC Africa Roundtable will take place again this year.
Isn't it beautiful that OPEC is going to be down in Cape Town? We love it. I love Haitham Al-Ghai. He's an amazing guy, the OPEC Secretary General, and most of the OPEC ministers coming down. National oil companies from the Middle East and Africa will be here. They're massive players, international oil and gas companies, but a big surge in renewable energy companies and what they're trying to do. So I think we will see a more unified conference, a very dignified African Energy Week. But Borsin, there's something that you're going to be really sharp. You're going to see a huge amount of billions of dollars of deals that are going to be unleashed during this Energy Week. We are going to shock the world with the level of deal signings that are happening. And I have spent my time really trying to nurture a lot of that, whether it is working with partners across the Middle East and the US and Europe, and it's all coming together. And I need to give credit to some of the African NOCs and governments that have been willing to fast-track negotiations, fast-track deal signings. So we're going to see unleash on big things. And I'm really, really interested in those deals that would really shore up local content, shoring up women empowerment, shoring up STEM, and also shoring up gas development and driving our energy poverty numbers down. So you're going to see a lot of that. And I'm excited about it because it gives me pleasure that our work is not going in vain. And we just need to believe in Africa. And if we believe in Africa, then we can unleash our true potential and really shock the world.
On a final note, very quickly, NJ, are you watching developments in Nigeria regarding the Dangote Refinery and the face-off, as it were, with the industry oil regulator as well as the NNPC? How do you think this should be resolved?
You know, it's funny. The teeth and the tongue are the closest thing. Once in a while, they do bite one another. I think that this is going to be resolved. There is a great value that an investor like Aliko Dangote does in not just Nigeria, but entire Africa. But we also need regulators to help create an enabling environment so that we all can benefit from those investments and continue bringing in. Because at the end of the day, you know, who is really stands to this, we need to be able to supply, guarantee our energy security, and ensure that everyday people like my grandmother can go out there and really do their jobs, whether it's in restaurants or hotels, or get shovel-ready jobs for that. But I think at a certain stage, we need to be very, very careful about the polarization and the demonization that is going on in there, whether it's against a regulator or against an investor. It does not help. It doesn't help. We need to cool it down, and we really need to be able to drive that up. So, but I think we really Nigeria is a country with a lot of smart people. They need to calm down the rhetoric because it doesn't help the industry. We need to be giving that, and we as a chamber will be having conversations with various parties on how they should move forward without the polarization.
Great having you on the show as always, NJ Ayuk of the African Energy
Thank you so
Chamber.
much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate those industry insights and look forward to the AEW in Cape Town in November.